Welcome back to our podcast. Today we are with Barbara Strozzi, musician who was born in Italy in 1619. She was one of the most prolific composers in the 17th century. Also, she was very brave because, unlike other female composers, she published her music under her own name. And Barbara, thank you for being here with us, because we know you are a very busy woman. It is said that your life was very interesting.
First of all, thank you for inviting me. Yes, it was. It really was an interesting life, in Venice, where I was born. My dad, Giulio Strozzi, was a poet and made me love music.
We were told that you studied with an important composer.
Oh yes, of course, Francesca Caccini. Have you ever heard about him?
Yes, I have. We have heard about him.
We also know you have published quite a few collections of music. Which was your favorite?
My favorite was Madrigal.
And what kind of music did you write?
I wrote music primarily for the voice, emphasizing solo vocal performance.
Did you explore the same themes for your compositions as other composers? What was your music style?
I didn't really care the other composers. I wrote about love, loss, longing, and emotional sensibility. My music style was lyricism, dramatic contrasts, and intricate interplay between voice and accompaniment.
So, this is all for today. Thank you, Barbara Strozzi, for being with us. It was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for listening to us, and see you in our next podcast. We hope you enjoy this. Bye.
The pleasure is mine. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello everyone, I'm glad you're listening to us again. This time we traveled to the Baroque era, and we're going to interview Francesca Caccini. Victoria and Maria are going to interview her.
Hi everyone, I'm Victoria, and I'm one of the two journalists. Francesca, what can you tell us about your career?
Hello everyone. Well, I was an Italian composer, singer, lutenist, musician, teacher and poet.
It sounds really hard. We'll go into more depth on this topic later.
Hello, I'm Maria and I will go on with the interview. Now another question. I think you were the first woman who wrote an opera. Can you explain that?
Of course, I have always been interested in all kinds of music. I was so captivated by the arts and I decided against those who were against me to create the first opera written by a woman. Its name was La Liberazione. In this part of my life, my family was really important.
Oh, really? Going back to the previous topic in which you explained it to me, all your abilities, did your family have anything to do with it?
Yes, I'll explain it to you. I come from a family of outstanding musicians. My father, Giulio Caccini, was a very important composer of the early Baroque period. Thanks to this, I gradually made a place for myself at an early age among my older brothers. Trying to stand out, I learned to sing, play the lute, and well compose. So here is the reason.
Now I understand everything.
Now it's my turn to ask. Francesca, could you tell us a little about your masterclass?
Glad to do it. It was a landmark work. I used dramatic tones mixed with the narrative genre and very innovative musician techniques. I must admit that it was really cool. I published my work in a collection of vocal songs in a book that I called Primo Libro del Music in 1618. It was a masterpiece and so important for the world because thanks to it, the first ideas of the Baroque period were born.
Girls, I'm sorry to say that I have two things to ask. The first is that you stop pestering the poor woman with questions of her life. Secondly, is that this podcast is coming to the end. I want to thank you on the behalf of the three of us for your collaboration with this program. And by the way, tell you how amazing you are because without you, the music we know nowadays will probably exist. Now, all I have to say is goodbye to the great Francesca Caccini. Thanks you very much for listening and see you again in the next podcast. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Hello everyone listening this. Welcome again to your favorite podcast, Your Baroque Stars. Today we are going to talk face to face with the famous Princess of Prussia, the great composer, Anna Amalia. A big applause for her.
Anna Amalia, who was a Prussian princess, was born in 1723 and worked as a composer and a patron of the arts. So now it's question time. Hello, Anna Amalia. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Hello, I'm also very happy.
How you were a composer, you should wrote a lot of composition. So, what type of music did you compose?
I composed chamber music songs and instrumental works, often reflecting the late Baroque and early classical styles.
And what did you study? Because I know you were a specialist in sonatas for flute and harpsichord that are very difficult to compose.
I studied composition and counterpoint under the great Johann Philipp Kimberger.
Oh wow, we have been looking for information about you and your life, and it was so interesting. Were you the youngest sister in your family, right?
Yes, I was, and my brother was Verde the Great, the king of my country. Because of this, some of my sonatas and cantatas are celebrating him. Did you know?
No, and actually it makes sense. But it had to be very difficult to face challenges as a woman if you were the sister of.
Obviously, because I was a woman trying to compose music in a male field, but with effort I did it.
Well, after common obstacles, you were able to break through in the music world and you became a very famous composer, composing such as goodbyes, such as Canon in Cedar, that we enjoy a lot when he listened to it.
And that's all for today. Thank you for being here listening to our emotional and interesting podcast. So Anna Amalia, do you want to say some words?
Yes, music is the heart of life. Without it, the world wouldn't be anything.
Come here always you want. Bye.
Yes, we hope you came again someday.
Hello, today we are going to have a nice time talking with the marvelous composer of the Baroque period, Isabella Leonarda.
Good morning, welcome to our podcast. How are you, Isabella?
Good morning, thank you. I'm fine, but a little nervous.
Well, don't worry, let's start with the questions.
Can you tell us something about your historical significance in the Baroque period as a composer?
Well, first of all, I was born in the year 1620. To answer the question, I was a prolific Italian composer in the Baroque period. I was one of the most important women composers of sacred music in the 17th century.
Interesting. How many compositions have you made during your career?
During all my career, I made over 200 compositions, including motets, masses, and sonatas. I published them in around 20 collections.
What influence did your religion have on your vocation?
My religious vocation deeply influenced my musical output, which was predominantly sacred.
What were the works that made you famous?
I compose a variety of forms, but in particular known for my contributions to 12 instrumental sonatas.
That sounds interesting. How could you describe your musical style compared to other Baroque period composers?
My sacred vocal works often blend incarnate polyphony with expensive solo passages. My composition demonstrates a deep understanding of harmony and counterpoint, as well as an ability to convey emotion through creating piece, both devotional and artistically sophisticated.
That sounds good. How did your music reflect the Renaissance to the Baroque period?
My music reflects the stylistic transition from the Renaissance to the Baroque, incorporating monody and the use of basso continuo.
That is wonderful. Have you any recognition?
Modern scholars and musicians have rediscovered my music, recognizing me as one of the few women of my era to achieve with despair publication.
Isabella Leonarda, I find fascinating that you were a pioneering woman composer in the Baroque. How are you celebrated today for your contribution?
I am celebrated today for my pioneering role as a woman composer in the Baroque period.
Isabella, this is our last question. I'm really curious about it. How do you feel about your instrumental sonatas and sacred music?
My instrumental sonatas and sacred music are now regularly performed and studied, highlighted my contribution to both religious and secular music.
Thank you so much for your time, Isabella. It's been a really comfortable conversation, and we really appreciate learning more about you. I hope you feel comfortable with us.
Thanks for this interesting conversation. I hope come back to other program.
Thanks for all, Isabella Leonarda.
This is all for today's program. We hope you like it.
Bye.
Bye.
Hello everybody and welcome to our podcast. Today we have here the Italian composer Anna di Venezia, who was born in 1738. She was an important composer and musician in the late Baroque and early classical periods. Thank you, Anna, for being with us, and as we know, you have a busy life. Hello, Anna di Venezia, welcome to our podcast.
Hello, thank you for inviting me to your podcast. I am delighted to speak here with you.
So now Mohamed is going to ask you some questions. Hello, Mohamed.
Hello, Anna. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Hello, Mohamed.
What inspired you to start in the world of music?
My mother was a singer, and since I was a little, I have been interested in music.
Oh, I didn't know about this. What was the first work you published?
My first published work was in 1650, when I achieved the position of virtuosa in music. de camera in Verde. The first collection I published was Sonate de camera per il flauto travisto. This sonata reflects my ability to write elegant and technical music for the flute.
I heard your life in 1762 become difficult. So can you tell us about what happened in your life in this year?
I went with my parents to the court of Esterházy in Hungary, where reading served as chapelmaster. I stayed there for 3 years, singing along with my mother to earn for a living.
Oh, how difficult! By the way, was it difficult for you to be a female musician at the time?
I was one of the few women composers in the 18th century, whose works were published and recognized in this time. My brief career is a testament to the ability of women to excel in music, when the field was at that time dominated by men.
Thank goodness everything has changed now. Well, we have learned a lot about Anna von Venezzia, who lived since 1738 to 1769. She was an Italian composer and musician born into a family of artists who influenced her passion for music. She showed early talent trained Conservatorio della Pietà in Venezzia, studying composition, singing, playing harpsichord and flute. With family support, she became a recognized composer. She published works such as sonatas for flute and harpsichord and worked in prestigious European courts like Bayreuth, showing her dedication and talent in music.
Wow, it sounds very interesting. Anna, has been a pleasure to know you better and know more things about you. Well, now comes the time to say goodbye. Thanks to everyone for listening to us, and thank you, Anna, for telling us some details of your life. See you in the next podcast.
Bye, see you.
Hello everyone, welcome to this new episode of our podcast, dedicated to music to learn about composers from the second grade. We are Valeria, Daniela, Paulo and Ethan, and we are very excited to have you with us today. In this podcast, we have the honor of interviewing a very important figure in Baroque music, Wilhemine von Beiruth. Her contribution to music and her role as a composer are really fascinating, and we are impatient to learn more about her life and work. Now, let's start with the podcast. Enjoy it.
Hello, Wilhelmine. It's an honor to have you with us today. To begin with, could you tell us who you are and what you consider to be your greatest achievement?
Hello, Daniela. Thanks you very much. I was born in 1709. In addition to being a composer and playwright, I dedicate myself to the arts and culture. My great achievement was to transform the small Bayreuth court into a vibrant cultural center during the Baroque and Rococo periods.
That sounds amazing. How did you manage to turn Bayreuth into such an important cultural center?
It was a task which required a lot of patience. After marrying Frederick, the Marquis of Bayreuth, I promote music, theater, and architecture at our court.
We know that you compose music. Could you tell us a little about your works?
No problem. Music has always been my great passion. I compose chamber music, opera, and pieces for harpsichord. My opera Angenor is one of my most beloved creations. It reflects the drama and the elegance that characterize my style. In my compositions, I strive to unite the depth of the Baroque with the lightness of the Rococo.
And for finish, in addition to music, you also had an important role in architecture. What projects will stand out?
I am particularly proud of my participation in the Margrave Opera in Beirut. I also contribute to the design of the Beirut Monastery, a place that combines architectural beauty with dreams-like passages all of Rococo.
Thank you very much, Wilhemine. Your story is truly inspiring. I will see you soon.
Thanks to you, Daniela. It's a pleasure to share my passion for arts and culture.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It was really been an honor to have you here and answer your questions. And thanks for listening to us, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.
Hello and welcome to our podcast. We are going to talk with Elisabeth Jacquet de la Guerre. She was a French composer. Also, she was an arpeggiaist and one of the most prominent female composers of the Baroque period. Hi Elisabeth, and thank you for accepting our invitation.
Hi, thank you for inviting me. I am a French composer. I was born in an instrument maker's family. I performed for King Louis XIV as a child and I became part of his court.
And now we go on with the questions. Can you talk to us about you?
Yes, of course. Well, I was one of the few women in my time to gain recognition in the male-dominated world of professional compositions and performance. I was often celebrated as the first woman in France to compose an opera, that was The Fête Époqueuse in 1694.
How was your musical arrangement?
Well, in my music I used elaborate ornamentation to decor my work. I also use dynamic contrast and affections. I use the basso continuo in my works. I also use the influence of the French and Italian style. I also wrote Baroque forms such as suites of harpsichord. And finally, I use drama in vocal music.
Can you tell us how was your style and innovation?
Well, my compositions include operas, cantatas, sonatas, and harpsichord music, including pieces of clavecins, in 1687, which showcase my skill as a composer and performer. My works blend French and Italian Baroque styles, demonstrating my innovative approach to harmony, melody, and form.
What about your patronage and recognition?
My music is noted for its emotional expressiveness and technical complexity. My keyboard's music features intricate ornamentation and virtuosic demands, reflecting the French tradition while incorporating Italian influences.
Oh, that was so interesting. And the last thing, can you tell us what was your challenge and legacy?
Despite my success, I faced societal limitation as a woman in a male-dominated profession. After my husband's death, I supported myself through teaching and continued to compose. My music fell into obscurity after the death of my husband, but it has been rediscovered and performed in recent decades, affirming my place in music history.
And that's all. We hope you enjoy your podcast. The maker of this podcast, Pablo Elena Santiago Alino. Thank you for listening. Bye.